Hey everybody, have you considered starting a podcast? We here at Screwball highly recommend Podbean for getting your podcast out to a larger audience. Podbean has given us the ability to easily bring you Screwball each and every week on all of your favorite podcast services. Use the link podbean.com/screwball to sign up and save up to 35% annually. You can also use the link podbean.com/pro/screwball to sign up for a business subscription. Happy podcasting. Hey everybody, welcome back to Screwball, a baseball podcast, your home for everything baseball. I'm your host Mike Lepre, here with my co-host Frank White.
Hey, how's it going?
This is episode 87 of Screwball, and the MLB season has come to an end. We had a resolution in the World Series just a day prior to the last episode going live, in which the Atlanta Braves defeated the Houston Astros in the 2021 World Series in Game 6, and what ended a pretty weird year in baseball, a pretty unexpected postseason run to a lot of people by the Braves, and possibly a turn in direction for that franchise, for the Astros franchise, and a lot of franchises that were in the playoffs. So this episode is going to primarily take a look back at the World Series, even though we kind of already did somewhat of a recap, just our overall thoughts in the last game, what the turnout was, and maybe what could come now for those franchises, like I said. And then we'll go into, we already have some offseason news. There were things swirling around almost immediately after the World Series, firings, hirings, qualifying offers, waiver claims, and all kinds of stuff. So award season is kind of among us here. And, with that, so let's kind of just jump right into it with the World Series, first and foremost, the end of the season. Like I said, we kind of talked about games 1 through 5 already last week. But Game 6 we didn't get a chance to talk about in the air in the finale. So, what'd you kind of think of the end of the World Series and how the Braves closed it out?
Oh, well, you have a team like the Braves who just throwing it together at the deadline. Eddie Rosario, Jorge Soler, guys like that, and they just it all came together at once, and it all kind of worked out. The bullpen came alive towards the end of the year. Starting pitching got healthy. It just it was a great thing to see. That was a team that was a major league superpower, in baseball going to the year, and one being an underdog. Game 6, we see a little bit of what that shown. We had a guy like Jorge Soler came up with a big, the big home run, the big blast to really win the game. Their pitching stepped up. Max Fried going 5-6 innings. Then their bullpen coming in and closing it out. You've seen a little bit of everything. Jock Peterson, guys who just weren't really, the key players on their teams before they got traded. Came to the Braves and definitely weren't the key players, but became the key players in the key moments. And it was pretty incredible to see. And it was really good for Brian Snedeker, a guy who's been in the franchise for forever. Freddie Freeman, who's seen a little bit of everything for the Braves. He got there when they were still good, went there when they were still there when they were bad. Then they got good again, and now they were still an underdog this year and still won. So you've seen a little bit of everything there in his time with the Braves, and that might be all his time with the Braves. I don't think you'll see him back there. But my big, thing I noticed was, we mentioned this already, was playoff baseball this year was more old school baseball.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think the strikeout rate, I don't know the percentage. I just feel like it was maybe down a bit from the regular season. Obviously, the pitchers were in and out. I think that's more new school no matter what. But hitting behind the runners, stealing bases was huge. National League, I think the National League playoffs was one guy caught stealing. No one's even used to trying to keep runners close because no one runs. So it's a big, momentum change. But defense, the manager picking and choosing, hitting the right buttons, but defense playing great, stealing bases, some old school baseball was what the key was. And then obviously the new school of the hitting a home run and striking out was still there, but the old school baseball really won games.
Yeah.
We seen the Dodgers beat the Cardinals in the wild card game. The stolen bases. Beat the Cardinals. Bellinger stole a base, and there you go. The Cardinals in that game scored a run, their only run, because they stole second in that pass ball. So I think stolen bases really played a big key, which is old school baseball. So I hope we see some more contact baseball and more stolen bases back in baseball, which I think we will. I think it's all going to flip back over. So that's exciting to see. Other than just hopefully hit a home run, and that's how you win the game. I know sometimes that's how it's going to be. Soler essentially did it. But, there's a lot of other stuff going on. Great defense, and It's more than just swing and miss and striking out.
Mm.
The other thing I noticed a lot too, especially in the World Series, was again we talked about this is the good pitches missed.
Yeah.
Pitchers realizing that the hitters, no matter if they have a level swing, uppercut swing, this new age swing, launch angle, hitting a ball is hard to do. And squaring it up is hard to do. So you could just throw it down the middle.
Yeah.
And they're going to ground out. They're going to fly out. They're going to foul it off. They might get a couple hits. They might hit a home run. But it's hard to do. The best of them is going to be 3 out of 10 they're going to be good at. So you don't have to be, picture perfect. And I think some pitchers they want to be, it's got to be perfect. It's got to be off the plate, You could put it there. They're going to miss it at times. And we've seen a lot of that. We also seen just the play of hitters being able to swing and miss through pitches that are right there.
Yeah.
Even when they're hot. Eddie Rosario, I seen that one at bat when he hit the home run in the NLCS. Those pitches right there, and he was missing them. It happens. So we've seen a lot of that too, which could be good. Pitchers just limiting the walks, which means more action, and hitters knowing like, hey, they're going to throw strikes, so we got to hit them.
Yeah.
So it could help baseball too that way. But those were some of the things I seen that we already kind of talked about. But that were really prevalent, in the World Series with the Braves, especially with the Braves because of their stolen bases and stuff like that. But I seen a lot from both teams. Which just here you go. Here's a fastball. Here's cutter. Something in the strike zone. Hit it.
Yeah.
Go ahead and hit it.
Yeah. I think that's just becoming a huge factor in baseball is just swinging and missing things that are right in the zone. I mean, I know these guys are throwing 99, 100 miles an hour. Some are throwing frisbees up there, which is, it makes a difference. But it is like an alarming thing to see. Like even Mookie Betts, what was it, A.J. Minter or whoever threw...
Tyler Matzik, I believe.
Tyler Matzik threw...
3 fastballs right down the middle.
3 fastballs right down the middle to Mookie Betts.
He never got close to
And,
touch.
yeah, so things like that stick out in my mind. It's crazy. But overall, as far as how I feel about the World Series, I thought it was a good World Series. I don't think it's one that's going to be, like, etched in stone, like in the memory books. It's not one that's going to really stick out in your mind, obviously, unless you're a Braves and Astros fan. Or if you just hate the Astros that much. I think that the Braves simultaneously were, like you said, they were the favorites, but also overcame the odds. Like they were the underdog and, the favorite. So it was
all in 1 year.
Yeah, which is pretty.
They were on both sides of the dial.
Yeah, I think in that regard, it's amazing.
It was a great run. It's one of those, not quite. I mean, almost like the hockey. Who was it? The Blues. A couple years ago. Fired the coach, and they were in last place in the whole league, and then won the championship.
Was it the Blues? Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
The Braves were, not over 500 until like first or second week of August, and they won the World Series. It wasn't the same Braves. Oh well, they have all the talent. They lost a lot of their talent.
Mm-hmm.
Cunha, Soroka never came back, and that's most of your talent right there. Let's get right down to it. Darno was hurt for most of the year, so like you lost a lot of talent. So it wasn't just like, oh well, eventually they're all there. They'll eventually start playing good. No, they had to overcome everything.
Yeah, you had to rebuild your outfield because Marcell Ozuna had his issues. You had Acuna, obviously, with the shame of the injury he got. You had to pretty much. I'm pretty sure they had the 4 outfielders that were acquired at the deadline.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Soroka didn't come back. Darno missed a lot of time. Christian Pache didn't pan out this year.
Mm-hmm.
So things were just ever changing for them, and it was pretty crazy. It was a great run to see. Again, shows baseball, and you can kind of compare it. I always kind of compare it a little bit to hockey, and the fact that those teams can come out of nowhere.
Mm.
When you're looking at basketball, I mean, the good teams are the good teams, and for the most part, you got an idea which couple teams are going there.
Yeah.
Baseball, hockey, even football to that extent at times, they can just get hot,
Right.
and just throw everything out the window.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think baseball this year showed that. You had so many superstar powerhouse teams, the White Sox. You had the Dodgers, the Astros. You had some really, those are the teams, the Rays. Those are teams that are winning.
Mm.
One of those teams are going to win.
Yeah.
And it didn't. So it gives you that show that, and then the Giants. They're a
come out of
powerhouse
nowhere.
team essentially this year, but they were look at the team. We were just talking about before. Darren Ruff, Maurice Dubon, Wilmer Flores.
Yeah, it's like
that was their team, and they had 107 wins. So it just shows you they can come from anywhere,
mm-hmm.
and they can be great for a couple weeks, a couple months, a whole year, and then be awful again, or they can continue their greatness. But it's the Braves showed us that this year. They really showed us that a team can come out of nowhere the Rockies in '07, and just put a ruckus. The Cardinals. We've seen the Cardinals. They won 18 straight games this year to make the playoffs. I mean, it comes from anywhere. So, which was great for baseball, I think, and the viewership in the World Series was up. And I think that was the case. You didn't have just like, oh, here's the two teams we expected again. It was an underdog team that came from nowhere, and they fought everything they got, and it was a great story. Atlanta and had their issues in the All-Star game stuff, so it was just a great, everyone against them, and they still pulled through to win the World Series, their first World Series since '95. And that's awesome. I know one of our, guy I play softball with, he's a Braves fan. So I know when they didn't say nothing to him all the time, but when the game was over and they won the World Series, I texted him, I said, so there you go, the Braves won, congrats. Braves fans are everywhere. It's a great franchise.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it was good to see because they deserve it, and that team is not going to be broken up, but the window is starting to get shut on the same team.
Right.
You're going to start seeing the Freddie Freemans probably start going away, and some other guys are going to start kind of fading away in the next year or two because you got to get Albies and Acuna and Soroka and Max Fried and Ian Anderson and Austin Riley and Swanson. These guys are going to need their money. So eventually they're going to start kind of seeping away. So, and the start was with Freeman. If the Braves were going to win, you wanted them to win with Freeman.
Right.
Because, obviously it's not Mr. Brave because the Braves go back 1,000 years, but, he's one of their pillars.
Yeah, he's like this generation's.
Yeah, you want to put, the five, Mount Rushmore, you could, possibly put Freeman right there, especially after this World Series. So to have him win with him was pretty cool.
Yeah, and he gets to basically catches the last out, as with the assisted first base, so it was kind of cool there.
And it did close the window, I think, for the Astros. On this generation Astros.
Yeah.
With Correa now going to be gone, Springer already gone, Verlander, pretty much out the door, Greinke going to be gone. I think, some of the team's still there, but for the most part, your core that started that, being great with the Astros is pretty much filtered kind of out.
Yeah.
So that now, they can still win. Obviously, it's still a good team, but it's a little bit. It's gonna be a little bit different team.
Right. Yeah, it's gonna be a different look.
It's the same guy. It's the same. Oh, here's the core guys. I think that core is gonna seep away, and it's gonna be kind of a new window opening.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of what I alluded to with the changing of the franchises here. It shows that it's hard anymore to win, to create a dynasty and win back-to-back. I mean, look at the Dodgers, all 106 wins, and they couldn't do it, 2 years in a row. Really, the Dodgers have been there almost every year for a while. And I believe, it was, we're going on 20 years, 21 years, going to be 22, maybe, depending on what the Braves do with back-to-back winners. So it goes back to what you said about baseball. Anyone can do it. Look at the Nationals in 2019 and this year with the Braves being the favorites and then underdogs and back again. It's just, baseball's amazing like that. So congrats to the Braves. Congrats to them for beating public enemy number one.
Yeah. and it goes, but you see the Nationals a couple years ago were in last place, and the Royals in 2018, the year before they won, right? Was it 2018?
That the Royals won? It was 2015 when they beat the Mets.
Oh, yeah. So 2014 was the year then, and they ran out of nowhere.
Yeah, and then lost to would have been the Giants.
I mean, so we've seen a little bit here recently. Mm-hmm. It's good to see those underdog teams instead of just seeing, the same old guys.
Mm-hmm.
And the powerhouse teams like, oh, this guy's gonna, they're gonna expect to win. So it's good to see that.
Sure.
And that's what keeps the game, fun to watch. And instead of just being like, oh, we kind of know who's gonna win, who's gonna do this. At least we have a good idea. Maybe we'll get one sneak team, and we had a couple in the last couple of years. We had a couple this year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what showed the World Series. The World Series really brought that. Was like, here's that team that was public enemy number one. Here's a team that was expected to be good, and then expected to be garbage, and then expected to somehow was in the World Series.
Yeah, it's amazing. I picked them to get bounced the first rounds pretty handedly, so it just goes to show.
Yeah, and that could have changed anything, because if the Cardinals get by the Dodgers there, I think the Cardinals won the World Series.
I think it's definitely, yeah.
It would have been a Cardinals-Braves NLCS, and that would have been, those teams were just beating each other. So I think the playoffs overall were good. It seems a different style of baseball, which we always do, but I think it's a different style of baseball we might see come back a bit with the stolen base and stuff, which would be really, really, really good for baseball and for everybody, because no one wants to see a million strikeouts all the time by every player.
Yeah.
You want to see someone hit behind runners and steal bases and the triples and taking extra bases, and it's the stuff like that brings the strategy back in baseball. Swinging and missing and just swinging and hitting home runs. There's no strategy to that.
No.
It's like a caveman could do that.
Yeah, it's the deducing it down to pure statistics or probability, where it's like, well, if you load 9 guys up that can all hit home runs, it's just eventually you're going to get runs.
You think one of them's going to hit a home run that day.
Right.
And if it's a solo home run or a 2-run home run or something, but that's just stupidity.
Yeah, I don't like that, no.
Yeah, it takes a couple
We've
good
expressed
hits.
a lot of times how much we don't like that.
No, I don't like that. And now if you got 2, 3, 4 guys that do that in this day and age, all right, that's called the middle of the order.
Yeah.
But I don't need my 1-hitter and my 9-hitter
trying to hit 30 home runs.
Trying to blast the ball when the guy can't hit the ball at the infield.
Right.
He's 4'3", and he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna smash the home run. Like, no.
Yeah, you know what you have to do.
But just get on base and cause a ruckus out there. That's what you're here for. Play to your position is the way I always kind of did. You're second base, you do this, you do that. It's just if you do that, we'll be fine.
Yep, and just
the rest
play your
of it
role.
We'll put together. But if you can just play to what your position is, at the very least, play to what your position is. What does this position do? You'll be good. And I think we've seen some of that this year with the playoff teams and watching the playoffs. We've seen what the guys do. You're a pinch hitter. You come off the bench. You're a spot starter. You're a reliever. You're a fire putter out or in the bullpen. I mean, we had those guys who had their roles and they were great at it. And the Braves showed it.
Yeah, sure did.
They had their perfect setup, and they had the guy who pushed the right buttons in Snedeker, and it was just great. Mm-hmm. And again, Dusty Baker loses.
Poor
Heartbreaker.
Dusty. But he's probably going to be back. From all reports.
Expected to be back. I think the deal's almost all but done, but good for him. The Astros had a hell of a year, but it's not really about the Astros this year. It's about the Atlanta Braves and the city of Atlanta and all it's been through with ever since Tom Brady caused a ruckus, I think, in the Super Bowl. They've been through quite a lot.
Sure.
So for the city to enjoy a championship after the All-Star Game debacle this year, too, is pretty outstanding.
Yeah, good for them. Like I said, congrats to the Braves. They deserve it. And if you had a bet in prior to the season, like I saw, Trevor Plouffe tweeted out on March 31st.
Yeah.
If you put that bet in, God bless you, because you're a very rich person.
I think it was like a $10 bet would have won him like $1 billion or something like that.
It was, if you bet 1,000, it was $27.6 million. If you put down 10,000, it was $276 million.
Put that bet into July.
Yeah, you'd probably still pay out pretty well,
How much you winning? The Braves were not even 500.
Yeah, and Mets were weren't the Mets in first for like most of the year?
Yeah. And the Astros, I think, were like neck and neck with the A's at that point. Mm-hmm. So that bet then would have won even more money. I seen a tweet too a guy had from like 7 years ago. He's like, put the 2021 Braves win the World Series or something. People always tweet stuff like that, and hopefully it comes true.
Yeah,
if it does come true. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So, no, it was a good year. Now we're possibly walking into a dark age of baseball.
Sure.
But we're not quite there yet. But to go into some other news than the World Series, which is just for a piece of metal, quote unquote.
Yeah. Manfred.
Yeah. Some other big news we see: Wade Miley just claimed by the Cubs.
I just don't understand what happened there.
Yeah, it's a great deal by the Reds, I guess. To just waive probably your best starter this year. Great idea.
I don't know.
T.J. McFarland signs with the Cardinals. Andrew Heaney signs with the Dodgers. Good for him. Posey retires. Buster Posey retired.
That was surprising.
A little surprising after the year he had in the Giants' year, but could be why the Giants played good. And also, I seen a video after they won the division. Mm-hmm. Everyone was celebrating, and he was celebrating on the field, but he took a couple minutes and just kind of stared into the crowd and looked around. And after I seen that video, after he announced his retirement, I'm like, if I would have seen that earlier, I would have probably said that he was going to retire. Because he had that look where he was looking around like this.
Yeah, this could be it.
Yeah, so good for him, good career. Hall of Famer, no. I'm not getting into that right now, but no, he's not a Hall of Famer. Stats don't hold up.
I'm surprised, I don't want to go on a tangent, because this could be a thing, but I'm not gatekeeping the Hall of Fame from him, but I'm surprised at the outpouring of how much of a guarantee he is for Hall. I don't feel like he's a guarantee for Hall of Fame.
No.
Granted, great catcher. 12-year career, a lot of accolades, MVP.
Best of his era.
Oh, yeah, 100%. But is he a lock for the Hall of Fame? I don't know if that's...
Should he be? If the Hall of Fame was done right?
Well, yeah,
yes.
sure, yeah.
But it's not done right.
Right.
So he's not in.
Right. So, granted, I'm not going to take anything away from Posey. I love Posey.
Yeah.
And he had a great career, but when you really break down his stats, they're good. He's a great catcher, but
his stats are below a lot of guys who should be, or have better chances. Posada had 6% of the vote, 4% of the vote fell off the ballot.
As a switch hitter.
And he has just as good postseason stats as Posey. So, again, we don't want to get into all that, but I've seen a lot of stuff with Posey being in the Hall of Fame, and I just not agree with it. His stats don't hold up to the guys who aren't in the Hall of Fame.
Right. Then, yeah.
Fred McGriff's and the guys like that. So, let's not get into that. We'll do that in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's a whole spiel. Yeah.
But some other news here. We got J.D. Martinez. Opts back in. He stays with the Red Sox. Mike Zunino back with the Rays. Zaya Suzuki is supposed to be posted. 27-year outfielder from overseas, Japan, China,
Korea or Japan, most likely. Yeah.
I don't know too well there. Kimbrel is staying with the White Sox for now. Expected to be traded.
Oh.
Not sure why the White Sox would say, "Hey, we're going to opt in and trade you because your value." That means your trade value goes down. So I'm not sure why they said that, but the expectation is to trade him. Because you're going to get a lot for him. He's a reliever.
Yeah.
A good one. I think it's because the holds or the setup man didn't work out for them.
Yeah.
Year. But still, great reliever. And I wanted to bring this up, Skip Schumacher, back with the Cardinals. He's the bench coach. And the reason I wanted to bring that up, I know we didn't talk about anyone else's bench coach that's getting hired, was because that was my prediction for him to be the manager of the Cardinals.
It came close.
When I seen when he went to the bench coach, I'm like, well, there you go.
Yeah.
So
I remember you saying they were looking at him. So, whoever he gets teamed up with, you got a good Cardinal there.
I don't want to, but just to throw this out there, Matt Holliday could be the hitting coach.
He would do good too.
Matt Holliday could be their hitting coach. You have Marmol and Skip Schumacher and Matt Holliday, and just that'd be a ruckus in that locker room.
Mm-hmm.
Wainwright, it'd be fun. It'd be really a lot of fun to be there.
Agreed.
So that would be exciting to watch. But for the most part, that's all the news I have that kind of we've seen so far in the brief bit of the offseason we had so far.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of waiver claims that we could get into. There were each team probably had up to 5.
Oh yeah,
so you could sit here and do that all day. But
Andrew Velasquez for the Yankees got claimed.
Yeah.
But we can't.
I mean, Wade Miley's a big one. Let's be honest.
We'll be here till tomorrow.
Yeah,
and go through it all, and none of it would matter.
No, because
half the guys aren't going to be on the team. They're going to get claimed 7 more times before the season starts.
Mm-hmm.
If there is a season, there's so much other stuff we can talk about.
Yeah. I agree.
We're going to talk about some of it. So.
Yeah, there's just a lot going on. It's the first kind of knee-jerk reactions to the offseason, kind of like I said, hirings, firings, with coaching staffs, the waiver claims, and there's already some signings, it was just so weird to me. The Dodgers' first move was for Andrew Heaney, or one of their first moves. I was like, what?
Yeah, it makes you think, and T.J. McFarland got signed. What makes you think about this? And I don't like doing it. Well, I shouldn't say I don't like doing it, because come on, the Mets don't have a GM or a coach.
I know.
Other teams signing players. Figure it out. No one wants to be there. Just find somebody.
Yeah.
Just do it yourself.
Even if it's internal, yeah.
I mean, this is nuts. They wanted to have this done before the World Series.
Yeah.
Like way before the World Series. Now you're after the World Series. You're in the off season. People are getting signed, and you don't even have where you're at.
Oh man.
That's like, being stuck two states over and you don't have the keys for the car.
Yeah.
I think you're a bit behind here.
Sure. Yeah.
So, not want to get into them again, because we always do. Being a local team, a local mess. But yeah, I mean, we got off season is off and running here.
Yeah. And
kind of surprisingly too, because of what could happen here in December.
That's what I kind of thought too.
It's like, wow, teams are really going like nuts here to get deals done and some stuff done, but they know that they might not be around.
I was more surprised at the players' willingness to go along with some of this stuff, or unless they figure, well,
safer.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's more of
a little bit. I have, if they do prorated, they miss a season, I still get a little bit of money. When the season comes back, my contract still carries over for the year. I think it's a little bit of safety for some of these smaller name guys like T.J. McFarland. But yeah, it is a little bit surprising. I think also the clubs are thinking, hey, if I sign him now before maybe the money goes up, maybe a $2 million deal in 2 months might be $2.1 million.
Right.
It just saves me a little bit of money.
Even if it's something, yeah.
So that could be a thought there too.
Yeah, it's just I was surprised at how fast things started moving. They don't. I don't know if they usually move that quick, but I don't feel like they do.
No, not with bigger names or more notable names. McFarland is a somewhat notable bullpen guy. At least you know him. Lee Miley obviously was almost a Cy Young candidate.
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
hitter and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, this is relatively big news here for week 1 of the offseason.
Yeah. And just to piggyback off of that with some things we start to see as this offseason kicks off is the qualifying offers that everyone loves.
Yeah, 10 of 96 ever signed, so that's,
Players love them, owners love them, whatever. I don't know why we still...
I'm sure the owners, maybe the franchise likes them, draft pick-wise, compensation
they're like, well, we're not going to keep you, but we'll attach a draft pick to you because F you.
Hold your prize up over your head high enough where you can't grab it, essentially. They're like, well, you got to jump through hoops to get there.
Yeah. But, I mean, I'm not a big fan of it, but I don't know.
No, it's almost like a franchise tag in football. It's just like, you're ours, even if you don't like it.
Yeah, I don't know. But there were quite a few given out. I think they're already... Right, I think there's a deadline on when you can do qualifying offers, so I think it's over. But they have until November, let me see here. They have until November 17th to make the decision, these following players. And they were offered a qualifying offer, which if you're not familiar with the qualifying offer, it's a 1-year deal for the next year. And this year's total for the qualifying offer is $18.4 million for the year. I believe that's based off of MLB average, or it's an arbitration decided salary that they give out for the qualifying offer. But there's a few players here that we're just going to quickly say, who got the qualifying offer. So starting, it's basically just going to go in alphabetical order here with teams. But for the Angels, Raisel Iglesias. For the Astros, Carlos Correa and Justin Verlander. For the Blue Jays, it was Robbie Ray and Marcus Semien. For the Braves, Freddie Freeman. For the Dodgers, Corey Seager and Chris Taylor. For the Giants, Brandon Belt. For the Mets, Noah Syndergaard and Michael Conforto. For the Red Sox, Eduardo Rodriguez. For the Reds, Nick Castellanos because he opted out. For the Rockies, Trevor Story. And that's it for the qualifying offers. There's some players that could have gotten qualifying offers or didn't. But just to kind of keep the conversation in the people that received it, you can become ineligible to receive qualifying offers, and that's basically if you have already received one, or if you didn't basically have a home all year, if you didn't stick with one franchise all year, that becomes a little sticky with the qualifying offer. So if you're saying, well, why didn't so-and-so get it? It's like, well, they probably already got one for Max Scherzer, for instance. They're ineligible because they had received one in a previous season. So those are your qualifying offer people. I would expect most of them, as usual, are not going to take it, but there's typically 1, 2, 3 guys that take it. Typically maybe 1 or 2, but it makes a lot of guys like Carlos Correa and Marcus Semien and guys like that. It just doesn't make any Freddie Freeman doesn't make any sense to take it. So you're just essentially adding like a caveat to signing someone. It's just, I don't know, it's stupid. But those are your qualifying offer guys. And we'll see where they go from here because most of them aren't going to take it.
Yeah,
so.
I think the only couple that I can even think, Conforto, I think would be a good idea to take it because it's down year. And just Brandon Belt because obviously with the market with Freddie Freeman and Brandon Belt's usually not too healthy all the time, and he had a relatively decent year. It might not be a bad idea to take that 1-year deal, hang around with the Giants again, and see what he can get.
And see what they do.
And also... Again, CBA coming up might not be a bad idea to have that 1 year, $18 million sitting in your back pocket, and then next year when the CBA is all signed and everything's ready to go, you can maybe cash in.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't see anyone else really taking it. Some notable names I know didn't get it. Kershaw didn't get it. John Gray didn't get it. Just some other ones. Those were some 2 notable ones that I really seen because obviously they were bigger names and they were expected.
Rodon.
Carlos Rodon as well. Those are good pitchers. Kershaw, legend. Rodon, almost Cy Young candidate. And John Gray, they didn't trade him because they wanted to keep him. They didn't offer him an extension. They didn't offer him a qualifying offer. So it's like, what did you... And he wants to stay there. So just kind of a ruckus with the Rockies the last couple of years. So
it's a weird choice.
That, I don't really have many other comments about the qualifying offer. Just some things I thought just off the top of my head.
Yeah, right. It's just a weird thing. We'll hear about it, and it's going to be like by end of next week or so. We'll hear about it. So we'll see what happens. Don't really hold your breath if you're a team that's, I hope we keep so-and-so, and they got a qualifying offer. I wouldn't hold your breath on it. Yeah, it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah. Other than that, the next thing I guess we go into is the Gold Gloves. The winners came out. Gold Gloves is a little bit of a mess. Not really stats to kind of back up who's getting it. There's some guys who get, Rafael Palmeiro, I think, won the Gold Glove one year. Played 16 games at first base. Matt Wieters almost won it one year. He played like 20 games at catcher before he got hurt. So, I mean, it's a little bit... But it's still an award that is very important. It's just the way they kind of vote on it is a bit...
It's strange.
Yeah, they're like, that guy had a glove. Let's vote him this year.
Yeah.
So, but still, it's a great honor. So start with the AL. You know, we got Yuli Gurriel at first base. A bit surprising with guys like Matt Olsen. But Yuli Gurriel turned himself into a good first baseman, so good for him. Marcus Semien never played second base more than 20 games in his life. Gold Glover at second base now. Well deserved. Matt Chapman, Gold Glove at third base. Okay, come on. Carlos Correa, Gold Glove at shortstop. His first one, but okay. Okay, that's how it
That
does
is his first one?
Yeah.
He's a good defender, too.
But shortstop being kind of a dominated position.
Yeah,
here.
you're right.
Left field, Andrew Benintendi. Good for him. New stadium. Big park. Play good defense. That's good for him. Michael A. Taylor in center field. Again, with the Royals. Big stadium, new park. It's good for him. And Joey Gallo out in right field. He brought his glove because he didn't bring his bat. Good for him because that's, I guess, whatever he does. And then the 1-2 tandem here. Catching, Sean Murphy. Known for being defensive, and his offensive stats aren't bad for a catcher. So good for him. And Dallas Keuchel, but that's his 5th Gold Glove, I believe, as a pitcher.
Yeah.
Which he's got a long, long way to go to catch.
Was
I
Maddox?
Greg Maddox had, 20 of them?
So, yeah, he had a lot.
Yeah, and Messina had a bunch. So, long way to go there. But all these guys, none of them might be like he shouldn't have won. Maybe Gurriel, I'd say maybe Olsen. Just personally, I think Matt Olsen's one of the best first basemen defensively in the league. But I can't sit here and tell you that Yuli Gurriel didn't deserve it.
Yeah.
So they all made sense to me. And for a guy, I love defense. I mean, that's what really bothers me with the Gold Glove. I really love defense and the way they go about. Sometimes this year not so bad, but sometimes they're just like, hey, yeah. JD Martinez one year was up for it, and he was a DH for the Red Sox for the whole year, and he's up for it. That's like, come on, he sucks.
It's weird. Yeah.
So, but in the National League, it was pretty much the Cardinals and a couple other guys. We had first base Paul Goldschmidt, well deserved. Second base Tommy Edman, well deserved. Third base, let me get my glasses right here. Nolan Arenado, that guy, when he went 9 straight to start a career, second behind Ichiro.
Yeah. Yep.
So, Cardinals again. Shortstop Brandon Crawford. All right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's what he does. Outfield Tyler O'Neill.
Yep.
Center field Harrison Bader. That's what he does. Offensively this year, he actually had a pretty good year. Defensively, he's one of the best you're gonna see. So that makes sense. Right field Adam Duvall had a good year defensively, which probably it really gave the Braves an opportunity to play him in center field in the World Series in the playoffs, which was a big part of them being good.
Sure.
So that was something that people didn't talk about. Catching Jacob Stallings. Offensively, he had a pretty decent year for him. For the Pirates, their team. Defensively, he was great. He had no pass balls this year.
Oh wow, yeah, impressive.
So that's pretty good. And pitcher Max Fried, which he's good. Young athlete comes off that mound. I've seen him make a couple plays. The one where he got stepped on the ankle was really a hell of a play. Didn't even get there. The one where he, off the mound early in the playoffs, turned fired, threw that ball to first base at 100 miles per hour. I mean, the guy could play, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
So none of these ones in the NL really surprised me either. I mean, obviously, you could put anybody in some of these spots.
Yeah.
Some guys, you could switch them around. You could always put Yadier Molina for the catcher, But
oh yeah.
I can't really argue. These guys, this year was actually one of the best years I think I've seen Gold Gloves recent past here, where I'm like, that guy, come on.
Yeah, how can you pass that
these
up?
guys are all pretty good. They all, relatively deserved it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure how you feel here about the Gold Gloves.
Well, obviously the Cardinals, everyone knew about their defense, so the NL makes sense.
I've been bragging about that all year.
Yeah.
But that was a big thing with the playoffs. The defense could really win them a whole World Series.
Yeah, you got Nolan Arenado, who, whether he was on the Cardinals or not, you knew about him.
Yeah.
You got Edman and Goldschmidt over there. That makes sense. Bader and everyone started figuring out Tyler O'Neill. They started figuring out what he was all about, so that makes sense. Jacob Stallings, I didn't even know he had no pass balls, so that's impressive.
For a bad pitching team, the Pirates.
Yeah.
Which makes it even more impressive.
Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, he I didn't know he was that good back there. But, the NL was done very well. AL, obviously Joey Gallo was well known for his defense, had some flubs. I think he just overall had a weird experience with the Yankees in the time he was over there. He kind of played, I think he was a little off his game overall. Carlos Correa, I'm surprised it's his first Gold Glove. because he's a wicked defender. He's got a hell of an arm. Yuli Gurriel, yes, again surprising over Matt Olsen, but makes sense. Matt Chapman, Platinum Glove potential guy.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he already won the Platinum Glove once or twice.
Yeah.
So a lot of these guys do make sense. There's always, Benintendi and Michael A. Taylor, good surprises there because they did play well this season. The Royals overall played pretty good. So some surprises there, some good surprises. I don't usually have too much of a problem with the Gold Glove. There are some guys that do get snubbed because you can only give out one, and typically, especially in say a position like right field, shortstop, something like that, you're going to find, or catching, you're going to find elite defenders, and someone's got to win it. So there's always going to be snubs. Yeah. So I try not to be too hard on the voters, but there are some times where you go, what are you thinking with this guy over so and so? So overall this year, not too many holes. I think that you pretty much had it right. I wouldn't say there was one or two, three major like, what the hell was that?
You feel good walking out of that, looking at that, going, okay. Yeah. Instead of some years you realize, like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, there's arguments. I know I saw arguments get throwing Aaron Judge in there, Mookie Betts, guys like that over Adam Duvall. But those guys, first of all, they win it every year. Not that you have to just almost throw it out to people that don't win it every year. But, guys all of a sudden, like an Adam Duvall, have these years where they come out of nowhere, and they have elite years, and they deserve it.
Yeah,
so,
their last impact was, him playing good outfield in the World Series, winning the World Series. That's your last, view of that position, so that doesn't hurt.
No. But overall, I think a good year. I don't really have too many, if any, gripes with it. I think you pretty much nailed it.
Yeah, it's a good overall, I think.
Yeah, so congrats to the Cardinals on just
being
that.
defensive.
That's a record too. 5 Gold Gloves in 1 year.
4 of the guys you can get it. And
yeah,
you could have got it to the one. Molina could have easily won.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, good for them.
And Dylan Carlson's not slobbing out right field.
No, I had him in fantasy. I don't think he only made like 2 or 3 errors all year.
Yeah,
if that.
So, other than that, another award that we have some finalists for is the Hank Aaron Award, which is this year in particular is very special because Hank Aaron obviously passed away. It's the first one since he's been gone.
Yep.
The AL finalists are Cedric Mullins, Jose Ramirez, Salvador Perez, Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge, Matt Olson, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. The NL finalists are Freddie Freeman, Nick Castellanos, Bryce Harper, Fernando Tatis Jr., Brandon Crawford, Paul Goldschmidt, and Juan Soto. I would say that those guys are pretty good, right?
That's a hard, because it's not like MVP where you have an overall look at the player, just pure hitting. I mean, whoa, you got some hitters there, man.
If I had to take a guess for the AL, who wins the MVP? Well, we're gonna do this next week's gonna be our award prediction, but it's going to be pretty much between Ohtani and Vlad.
Mm-hmm.
Winner of MVP, loser gets second. So let's just throw it out there. Let's say maybe Ohtani wins MVP. Vlad gets the Hank Aaron Award.
I think you got to look at.
I think that's how it's going to pretty much go. So if Vlad wins this award, I think that pretty much means Ohtani's going to win the MVP.
I think you have 3 guys here. First of all, you have Ohtani, which I think he's going to win. We'll get into it next week, but I think he's an MVP pretty much.
Which I think means Vlad gets Hank Aaron.
Right. So
you
Vlad,
don't both get them. You don't get both awards.
Exactly. So Vlad's your second guy, and your third guy there. Really is Salvador Perez breaking the catching home run record. So I think that's the third guy you look at.
And then you look down, though, and you got Jose Ramirez. I mean, he had a great year, but, it's his year. That's what he does. It didn't, surprise me.
It didn't, yeah.
Judge had a good year. Yankees were bad. I think that should actually take away from him because he didn't have the shit ton of RBIs. He didn't step to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Olson had a very good year. Average was high. Bounce back year. Home runs were high as over 100 RBIs for the first time. Am I too surprised? Not too much. Cedric Mullins had a career year, a record-breaking year, an all-time franchise Orioles year. If he won this award, I would not be surprised, and I would be very happy.
Yeah, I wouldn't surprise me either.
Very, very happy because I don't know where he'll be in a couple of years. I think he's good. I think he will be around a while, but that's a guy you're just like, wow. Good for you. You broke some records on a terrible team.
Yeah.
Did a great job. You got to give him credit.
Had a 30-30 year, right?
Yeah, first one ever over there. And I believe he batted 300 or 298. I mean, great year. A great year. Great year. So.
Yeah, and then what do you do with the NL?
The NL is just a ruckus
I mean, you got
of mass destruction.
just the three who we just saw were the MVP finalists. You got Harper, Fernando Tatis, and Juan Soto.
Again,
What do you do with them?
Whoever wins the MVP doesn't win this award. I think the guy I'd take out, Brandon Crawford.
Yeah.
You're not offensively as talented as anyone else here.
Right. He had a good year, but just
Don't
not.
get me wrong, but I mean, Brandon Crawford and Freddie Freeman. I think we know who we're pitching to there.
Yeah.
So, if I had to take a guess, I think Tatis wins this award. I can't see Tatis winning the MVP because I don't see Tatis having that much. He didn't play the games. He didn't show up enough. Right?
I agree.
Soto, I can easily see. I don't think Goldschmidt's going to get He's also won a couple times, Goldschmidt.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they'll kind of be like, you kind of had yours and kind of push him out. Freeman, again, kind of a slow start. His year wasn't majestic, I guess you can call it. So maybe kind of, again, also a winner. So maybe kind of Nick Castellanos can easily win this award.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Castellanos had probably his best year ever, one of the best years you're going to see, and was, pun intended, red hot for the Reds.
Right.
Unstoppable for a while. And dealt with a fractured wrist or a chip in his wrist at one point and still came back. It was still just great.
I know.
So Castellanos would be great to see. Harper, those other guys in the MVP race, I don't know. I usually say if you win MVP, you don't win this award. So that's kind of how it goes. So I think the ones you really count out, Brandon Crawford. I think Freddie Freeman again had a good year, just not majestic, not that
quite
great.
the other
Hey,
guys.
this is something to see. Goldschmidt again had a really good year. Just not enough to be like, this is my guy.
Mm-hmm.
Castellanos, great year. I just don't think he'll really get the credit.
But he could,
He could.
all of them really could, but
I think Harper always gets, like, they always say he's supposed to be better than he is.
yeah,
So they look at your stats, you're like, well, that's still not that good. Like, the year you won MVP, you're like, that's your year.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're bat like 270, you're like, well, that's not good.
Yeah, the
Like,
expectations are
but
always.
he still had like all them home runs and RBIs. So I don't think he'll really, I don't think they'll give it to him. Like, again, that's another reason why the MVP I think will be tough with him. But Juan Soto they love, and Fernando Tatis is Jesus. So they'll probably give it to Tatis again. I don't think he'll win MVP.
That was my guess.
And Soto, I mean, that guy's a ruckus in himself. I like to see Castellanos win though.
Oh yeah, well if there's anyone, yeah. Well, I mean,
And what he gets that award. He's going to free agency with a big Hank Aaron award on his shoulder. He's like, all right, so my money's where?
yeah. Who wants me?
Yeah. So that'd be great for him. He's probably calling some guys up like, hey, vote for me, give me a vote.
Yeah.
Doing a little election,
Yeah.
putting a sign out in front of people's houses. Nick
Sure.
Castellanos, because that's just only going to go up $1 million or $2 million in his salary if he wins the Hank Aaron
Oh
award.
yeah. But I fully. That was exactly what I thought when you read off the guys. I'm like, well, Tatis will probably win it. Granted, not because they love, just because they love him. He had 42 home runs. Guy had a good year. I do like Tatis, and I don't think I don't think he will, nor I don't think he should win MVP.
Because the game's not played. And the Padres were terrible
Right.
for what they're supposed to be, but the games weren't played. You didn't play enough games.
Right.
You didn't show up to the ballpark and do your job enough times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you leave it then to Juan Soto or Harper for MVP most likely, and then that probably leaves Tatis for the Hank Aaron Award. So I agree with that. I think that's where that's going to go. But
I mean, these are great names. This was
oh
this
my
is a great
god,
list.
you're reading the list. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, Brandon Crawford's out of both sides is probably the lowest offensive talent here. And for a shortstop, his year he put up was great.
Yeah, he had a career year just about.
Everyone else, superstar, all-star talent, offensively just juggernauts.
Yeah, I mean, how do you choose? That's amazing.
Yes.
You go with any of them on any given day, and they'll do you good.
And this is again one of the most important Hank Aaron ones because it's the first one since he's been gone. So this is a very important one too. So that's notable as well.
Sure.
But other than that, I think that's pretty much it.
It's pretty much
Want to get into awards next week. Have a great awards episode next week. Go into some stuff and predictions and what we already heard from people. Some more news and updates and stuff like that. And baseball season's over, but the lasting impact we're still seeing because of the awards and stuff. So this is still still almost the season without games being played.
Yeah, it's like the epilogue of the season.
Yeah, exactly. So other than that, the last bit I got here is a trivia question.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the best part. That's what we do. That's why we're here.
Sure.
And the trivia question.
Ray Schalk.
No. Actually, it's crazy enough. We went through the whole episode and never mentioned it. Jorge Soler won the MVP of the World Series.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, him. He did pretty good.
Yeah, he hit home runs and stuff. So we should have mentioned that. But the trivia question kind of revolves around that. And who was the first World Series MVP in MLB baseball history? And no, it's not 1902 and High Pockets Johnson and Stinkfoot Larry and stuff like that. It's actually big name, not really, but the year. So first World Series MVP in baseball history was Johnny Podres or Podres. You want to really pronounce
I don't really.
1955 for the Brooklyn Dodgers against the Yankees in 1955. He was 2-0 with a 1.0 ERA and 10 strikeouts. And he won the first World Series MVP.
Yep. I don't know why for a second, because I don't, I'm not good with there's some decades and some teams that I don't know their history that well, so I never would have got that. But I don't know why, just when you were reading off the name, I was like, is he just going to say Johnny Appleseed? Like, he said Johnny. I was like, yeah, Johnny High Pockets, 10 Shoes Johnson, in 1955 was throwing 80 miles an hour.
Yeah. Propeller arm throwing that thing. So, but yeah, that's a trivia question. Thought that was a pretty good one because it was older, but not like 1901. We have a couple trivia questions. Boy, that shortstop one made most errors. I don't even remember his name now. I mean, that you're never getting it.
No,
but it's crazy to hear. So I bring it up every once in a while to throw them out. And if you get it right, I mean, then you're just better than everybody else. So good for you. But this one's relatively like if you would have told me the answer, I'd have been surprised, but I wouldn't have been like, all right. So you looked it up, or I gotta come across this table and punch you. But it's it's a pretty good one. First World Series MVP, even though there was 50 World Series before that.
Yeah.
It's pretty, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and I feel like you really gotta know your history, or just you could be a big Dodgers fan. A
big Brooklyn Dodgers fan would make even more sense.
Yeah,
really like the Brooklyn because that's a shorter period of time.
Right. Yeah, that's true because I believe that was a year or two before they left too. So
or just don't like the Yankees. That's a lot of people do, and that was against the Yankees. So you back say,
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so. Yeah, so that's our trivia question. I think that's really ties up our episode here, where the Braves win the World Series, and we end up with who was the first World Series MVP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, it's a tough trivia question. I never would have gotten that. And if you got that out there without even needing your, if you're on our Twitter, and we do a multiple choice, if you didn't even need that, then good for you.
Yeah, because
that's
our
impressive.
Facebook, you don't have that. You just got to guess.
Yeah.
So if you get it right, I mean, please let us know. You'll be talked about for sure.
Yeah.
That's hard to believe, but you get some of the other ones right. You get the Ray Shark ones right.
Oh yeah.
Let us know.
Can't forget about him.
No, you can't. Right. Yeah.
We want to, but we
no,
can't.
You should be forgotten. Greatest Hall of Famer, they say.
Sure.
Right up there with Babe Ruth.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
But yeah, that kind of wraps up the season, really. I mean, we got the awards episode. We're going to give our predictions next week. And the following week, we'll take a look at where the offseason is going to take us and what the CBA may look like, teams and signings and all that good stuff. So
some predictions there. And then from there, we'll take it into our offseason. Every other week, we'll come back and we'll do some fun episodes where we're ranking players, ranking teams, ranking decades, ranking whatever. We'll come up with something fun. Some of our best episodes where we can really break down the history of the game. That's some of the most. That's some of the most important part. That's the most important part of baseball is the history. So to break it down and really put our opinions together on a piece of paper or on a computer or something, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty fun to talk about. We talk about it for an hour or so with our listeners here, and we probably talk about it for 2-3 hours. Without them. We've been on the air because that's how much we talk about it.
Yep.
Then we go home and talk about it again. So
Yeah.
talk about it quite a bit. So
Sure.
It's fun to really bring it out there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so like I said, that's kind of wraps it all up with the season, and we'll see where. Yeah, it was a pretty good year. Very weird year. There were a lot of weird teams that came out of nowhere that did well, that really did bad.
You need that.
Yeah, as a baseball fan, you could typically at least like if a team gets good or if a team goes wrong, you kind of see like, well, that kind of makes sense because so and so didn't do good or blah blah blah. But there were a lot of teams this year that like look at the Giants, Seattle, the Yankees underachieving,
Twins.
The Twins way underachieving, the Padres not even making the playoffs. I mean, it's just
Red
a lot
Sox
to
through the roof.
Yeah, your Braves really underachieving all year to come back and win the World Series. It's like
it
doesn't make any sense.
It was a good year. It's a year that baseball needs kind of year where it's like this little topsy-turvy, not predictable, not too predictable. If you really look at a paper, you go Braves Astros, you go that's pretty predictable. But if you watch the season, it's not predictable.
It wouldn't have made sense.
So it was good. It was a good year. and it was really got you away from last year's kind of not debacle because the year played, but you know what I mean. It wasn't baseball.
Yeah.
And what we might not get.
Yeah.
In the next year, so it was a well needed year, and we need a well organized, controlled offseason, which I do not know if we will get. But we'll go into that in the next coming weeks.
Yeah, you never know. But
the CBA could be just mind-boggling.
Yeah, I expect it to, kind of. But
yeah.
I hope it doesn't, but I expect it to.
Yeah.
But with that, that's all I got. So if you want, we can wrap this up and wrap up the 2021 season, kind of.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's almost our full wrap-up, I think. It's pretty much next week with the awards. But yeah, this is pretty much, the bow becoming next week. But the present's all wrapped up.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So, so unless you got anything else, I guess we'll just wrap her up here.
That's it.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. You can catch this podcast on Apple Podcasts as well as Google Podcasts and Spotify. You can listen on our regularly updated YouTube channel as well as our website, screwball.podbean.com. You can follow me on Twitter at RealMikeLepre. You can follow me on Instagram at MikeLepre.
And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at FDubs10.
You can follow our official Screwball Twitter at ScrewballPod. You can follow our official Screwball Facebook at ScrewballPod. No E and Screw. And that's it from us, guys. We'll see you next week.
Yep. Take care.